Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Antigua and Barbuda hours away from a new government. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, March 21st. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. The polls are now closed in Antigua and Barbuda, and the slow process of counting ballots to determine who will form the next government is expected to begin soon. After polling stations opened at 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning, Prime Minister and leader of the incumbent Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, Gaston Brown, reported there had been a glitch in the provision of ballots at one of the polling stations, but the matter was quickly cleared up and people were able to vote. He told CMC News earlier in the day, after casting his ballot, that he was satisfied with the voting process. And as the day progressed, there were reports of lackluster voter turnout across the 17 constituencies, but Brown said he was not worried.
And it is well known that whenever you have a high voter turnout, that the incumbent government is in trouble. People, generally speaking, when they're determined to change the government, they get out there and vote early. That has been it's a historical fact really in terms of voting behavioral patterns. So this is expected. I'm pretty sure that at the end of the day we should get up to probably about maybe 75–80% turnout. So that you will not see any rush. And anyone who would have anticipated the rush really will be thinking about change of government, which I believe is not on the cards. Certainly not with Antigua and Barbuda people.
Aside from the low turnout, electoral officials were generally pleased with how the day progressed, and police reported it was a peaceful polling. Harold Lavelle, leader of the main opposition United Progressive Party, the UPP, was also not too concerned about the turnout.
In our circumstances, the base for the United Progressive Party has shown that they're highly energized. And those persons who are saying they're not going to vote have primarily been ALP supporters. So I think it's a bit early to make any prediction as to what a low voter turnout necessarily means. But at the end of the day, we'll see, and we're doing everything to bring our people out, and that's what's important.
This year's election was noteworthy, and it was the first time Barbudans voted on the mainland. The controversial decision to have them vote in Antigua instead of at home was challenged in court by the Barbuda People's Movement leader Trevor Walker, but was upheld by a High Court judge. Both the ABLP and the UPP are confident of victory in an election that saw a record 53 candidates vying for the 17 parliamentary seats. The Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission, ABEC, says counting should be completed overnight and official results made available by midday on Thursday. Well, meantime, ABEC Chairman Nathaniel Paddy James says there's a need for the law to change to allow for speedier counting of ballots. As it stands now, each box from each polling station must be transported under police guard to a counting location in each constituency, and the returning officer for that district must conduct the count of all the constituency boxes. But in many other countries, counting is done at each polling station after the close of polls. James says ABEC has pressed for the law to be changed to allow that, but with no success so far.
This matter is raised at the highest level, the cabinet level. And it is a policy decision so far at this point in time that things remain as it is. All I can promise here And as Mr. Hughes mentioned, from the Electoral Commission standpoint, we would like to have it change. But then again, it's the elections in Antigua and Barbuda, administration of election are still statutory, and it means that Parliament will have to agree.
Speaking to CMC News on Election Day, Prime Minister Brong agreed the system needs to change.
What else do you think in terms of the electoral process that we need to address?
We have to make some boundary changes. I have to tell you that there are a number of things that were taking place. For example, the Boundaries Commission had done a significant amount of work in anticipation of changing the boundaries. They had set me as a deadline to submit the new boundary report, but because of the early polls, a number of things were actually derailed. But I'm pretty sure that will start immediately, and that certainly for the next general elections, a number of these inefficient processes will be eliminated.
Well, we're now joined by Anika Kentish from St. John's, Antigua on the line. Anika, good evening.
Good evening. I've actually made my way into Sweets Village in the constituency of All Saints, East and St. Luke to observe the count.
And you've had an opportunity throughout the day to go to various constituencies and various polling stations and to observe the process as you reported for us. Give us your thoughts on the day so far.
Well, as you would have reported this evening, that the consensus is that the voting was slow throughout the day, and I believe now that the consensus is that the turnout is expected to be low. We don't have the final count just yet in terms of what the turnout looks like. I expect that at some point soon we'll get that. But even in terms of going around to the different constituencies, talking to the different polling agents and to the presiding officers, and even just, looking at the amount of people coming in at even the larger constituencies, you get the sense that people have not been coming out in large numbers to vote for the candidates.
You have covered elections in Antigua and Barbuda before on other occasions. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
I have not. I did not cover the elections in 2014, but I did cover the two previous ones, and both of them had noticeably high voter turnout. What we're expecting, or what we would expect to be normal, is anything over 75%. I know that we had, I think, roughly, if my memory serves me right, somewhere in the region of 80% of the last election, if my memory serves me right from the report. And I don't think we went anywhere near that. I actually just had a conversation with Peter Wickham, and one of the ideas that he's putting forward is the fact that people may just not have been ready. The electorate just may not have been ready for the snap poll. Another indication that it could also be an indication that he's suggesting that the people are just not happy with the candidates who are being offered for this election. So at this point in time, the polls are closed and people are assembling at the various counting stations to observe the count, so we can get an idea overnight, hopefully, as to who is going to win this poll.
This is the first time that Barbudans are voting on the mainland Antigua in elections, and we know that the reason for doing that is because things were not ready over there because of what happened when the hurricane passed. How did voting go for the Barbudans, from what you've observed?
I was not able to make it.
I know that there were at least 1,100 plus Barbudans registered to vote. So you have any idea as to how many of them came over? What's on the ground? What are you hearing?
Right. I am not exactly sure as to the final number of people who came over, because what would have happened, the National Office of Disaster Services would have made arrangements for a number of people to come, but many of them also came on their own. So it's difficult right now to determine the number. I was hoping to make it back to the T.N. Kernan School in St. John's where the Barbudans were voting, but I did not make it back this afternoon, so I have not seen what the actual turnout was. Keep in mind that there were actually more Barbudans in Antigua than there were in Barbuda. It's estimated that there are roughly about 500 Barbudans who are residing there right now. And right now the Barbuda electorate has somewhere in the region of 1,001, just over 1,100 people. So, it's difficult right now to say, but the turnout was steady because while I was there this morning, I did observe a couple of buses coming in, bringing people who were ferried over from Barbuda. They went up and they were lining up to vote. So I guess we will see in a little while just how many of them would have actually turned up.
There's a new party on the front in Antigua and Barbuda. That's the DNA, headed by Ms. Joanne Messiah. Were you able to speak with her and any representatives from her party to find out what they felt about today's turnout at the poll?
Not at length. I was actually hoping to speak with her just before we got on air. She is right here at the counting station where I am right now, and I imagine from what I'm seeing that there is concern. What the information that I'm receiving is that in this particular constituency that there seems to be a low turnout, especially where the opposition, or I should say a lower than expected turnout where the opposition parties are concerned. So that would be a cause for concern for both the Democratic National Alliance, headed by Joanne Messiah, who incidentally is the candidate for the All Saints East and St. Luke constituency, and also for the United Progressive Party candidate who is running in that constituency.
Is it fair then to say that at least by midnight the country and by extension the world would have an idea as to who would form the next government? At least the preliminary results will be out?
Well, I think by midnight we will have a fair idea, especially given the fact that we don't expect that there are going to be as many ballots to count as we have had in the past. So I would imagine that there are certain constituencies that usually come in quickly. For example, the St. John's City East constituency, which is being contested by Melford Nicholas of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, and that seat was previously held by Harold Lovell, who is the political leader of the United Progressive Party, and the DNA candidate running in that area is a former ambassador under the UPP administration, Bruce Goodwin. That is one of the constituencies that we expect to come in early, and that's one of those that's people are keenly observing because it's one that people believe that there is a chance where the UPP is concerned in terms of gaining or regaining a seat. The larger constituencies, for example, the constituency of St. John's Rural East, where Maria Burr, the wife of the Prime Minister, is running under the ABLP ticket against Trevor Young of the UPP, and also a DNA candidate, as well as St. John's Rural West, which consists of the Grace Farm, heavily populated Grace Farm, Green Bay areas. Those are going to take a lot longer, and they tend to come into the morning.
Anika Kentish, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicole.
We have more news after the break.
How can Caribbean nations respond to global economic trends? It is the subject of our Caribbean Economic Forum with Central Bank of Barbados Distinguished Fellow Dr. Andrew K. Rose, B.T. Rocco Professor of Economic Analysis and Policy of the Haas School of Business, University of California, Berkeley. Join us on March 27th at 8:30 p.m. at the Courtney Blackman Grand Salle, or follow this important event on television, radio, and online. Let's talk about terms of trade, capital flows, exchange rate pressures, protectionism, and more in this 5th edition of the Caribbean Economic Forum. For more information, visit www.centralbank.org.bb.
everyone talks about North Korea, of course, as this police state dictatorship, and that's why it's our enemy, right? And South Korea is our ally because it shares our Western values of democracy and freedom. Do you agree with that?
Until the late 1980s, South Korea was a pretty dark dictatorship too, and we supported, the United States supported a succession of police states.
Dominica's Minister of Housing and Water Resources Management, Reginald Ostry, says the process of restoring a consistent and reliable potable water to residents following the passage of Hurricane Maria last September has been challenging and costly. Over 97% of the water infrastructure was severely damaged by the Category 5 Hurricane Maria that swept across the island in September last year. Since then, 16 million EC dollars have been spent in temporary restoration efforts. In an interview with CMC News on the sidelines of the World Water Forum in Brazil, Ostry said a major challenge for Dominica Water Company is getting to the source of the water system.
Many of our water systems begins in the mountains, and like Mr. Etanov said in his presentation, many of the access to those intakes were blocked. Many of the intakes themselves were in or very close to the river, and so they became silted with big, huge boulders, with trees and rocks. And in many areas, the rivers really moved away from the natural course, taking away with them most of the pipes that we had carrying water. So that access is a major issue. Restoring the intakes, even those that are not damaged, is in fact an issue. And these have been some of the challenges.
Another major challenge is finding and replacing the pipelines.
But many of them have been lost, they cannot be found, and so we have to replace them. And these are not always easy. By the time you place an order, it takes you anywhere between 2 to 3 months to place an order in any part of the world to get the pipes into Dominica. And of course, the financial resources, because now we not only have to restore the water systems, we have road infrastructure, we have the farmers to deal with, we have the schools to deal with. So it's really so much to do with limited resources that you really cannot go full speed ahead into any one area, lest you forget an existing an area that is also impacted or was impacted by Maria.
Dominica has embarked on a restoration project that will make the country climate resilient and is expected to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. A number of donor countries and agencies have pledged assistance in this effort, and one such being the United Kingdom's Department for International Development, DFID. Following the passage of Maria, DFID has given Dominica £10 million to assist with infrastructural development. This, Ostry said, will be used to rebuild the water infrastructure. And still in Dominica, Telecommunications Minister Kelva Daru is calling on the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, ECTEL, to examine the possibility of reducing roaming rates within the OECS. He said he has raised the issue at the ECTEL Council of Ministers meeting.
Because why is it that you have to leave Dominica and go across to St. Lucia or to Antigua or to St. Kitts, and you have to pay so much for roaming charges? It is critical. In such a small area, the EU has gone ahead and done it. Why can't we, 5 countries within the OECS, do the same thing to reduce the roaming rates for our citizens here in the OECS territories? So this is my challenge to ECTEL, and the acting manager is here. And I'm sure he'll take it back, and also the director for Dominican, who sits on the board, Mr. Timothy. So I'm hoping that at the next board meeting, that this is discussed, and when the Council of Ministers meet, we can take a firm position on this thing.
Acting Managing Director of ECTEL, Andrew Millett, later assured the minister that the reduction of roaming rates is an issue the authority has been quietly working on for a while.
It's something that ECTEL has been working on for some time. It's very, very important that we get these roaming rates down, as the minister rightly said. We have been doing a lot of work in the background with respect to that in terms of getting a roaming bill passed. We have taken it to the board already. We have to also bring it to the Council of Ministers to ratify. So work has been done, and it will be, I can't give a timeline right now, but very soon we should be, looking at implementing newer, lower rates.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies book their spot in next year's ICC Cricket World Cup. Stay with us. Sport is around the corner.
renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Hey man, it's the DON of the D-League, and I want to tell you about some of the features that's on my album. I got Do It All from Lords of the Underground, I got King Magnetic, I got Ab-Lib, I got C Knowledge, I got Big Lou, and my video coming up soon, but right now, just check out this new video.
Had to see a therapist, cause I'm trying to turn the page. I've been through a lot of shit. People spit on my name. They be looking different, but they hate on you the same.
Now you're gonna try to get 12 equal pieces. Pieces of dough into the buns. I'm just gonna place it on my baking pan. As yet, you'll have to let them cool for about 15 to 20 minutes or so. So I'm gonna brush on another mixture on top.
West Indies have sneaked into next year's World Cup in England, but only barely, after needing the fortune of Duckworth Lewis to beat Scotland by 5 runs in their final Super 6 match of the ICC World Cup qualifiers on Wednesday. After being asked to bat first at the Harare Sports Club, the two-time former world champions were bundled out for a paltry 198, despite half-centuries from former opener Evan Lewis and veteran Marlon Samuels. New ball bowlers Saifan Sharif and Brad Beal were brilliant, both claiming 3 wickets apiece to wreck the West Indies innings. Here are the highlights.
Good start, good start, good start! Brilliant start by Saifan Sharif and Scotland. Another one. Hope doesn't like it.
Short and wide. It's an opportunity for Samuels and he won't waste it.
Miscue just a bit. And just out of reach. No one's going to stop that one.
Good hit. Good hit. And that boundary, which is boundary number 6 for Lewis, brings up another half-century. It's been a really, really good knock. Another good knock from Evan Lewis.
A big shout it out. That's 50 for Marlon Samuels. Oh, shouts of catch it, and it's taken. Oh, got him, I think. He's got him. Yes, a beauty of a delivery.
Gone. Would you believe it? Would you believe that from the skipper? That is huge. That's gone miles.
Oh, that's wicket number 7.
Got him this time. Leading edge and caught.
Oh, another effort from Keema Paul to get that single, but really good delivery. Really good delivery to get rid of the last wicket.
And in reply, the Scots needed 76 from 90 balls to beat the West Indies when the heavy downpour came, forcing umpires to call off the match and award the Caribbean side the automatic spot in the World Cup. Richie Berrington top scored with 33, while George Munsey remained unbeaten on 32. Taking 2 wickets for the Windies were fast bowler Kemar Roach and off-spinner Ashley Nurse.
Catch it now! Another reverse sweep that goes away for 4 more. Oh, drop catch. Big shout. I think it turned. He's gone. He's got him. Magnificent. What a shot that is from Michael Leask.
A thunderstorm and then celebration in there because it was called off, and disappointment in the other change room. The West Indies are through to Cricket World Cup 2019.
And after the match, a pleased Windies captain Jason Holder said he expected his team to qualify for the World Cup, but he also empathized with the Scottish side.
Please, I think we've been through a lot in the last couple of years. It hasn't been easy, we came into this qualifying competition obviously in the number one ranked side, and we had to play to expectation, and I think the guys really put it in their hands, and in every single game it was probably pressure in every single game, and the way the points table went, the pressure was spread out through all the games and all the teams. So just really pleased to get over the line. I think Scotland had played some very good cricket in this tournament. My spirit thought for them. But I remember this feeling we had last year in England. We made 300 odd, and unfortunately lost the game to Duckworth Lewis. So I could understand how they feel.
And given Scotland's valiant attempt at chasing what was a gettable target, Captain Kyle Kudza credited his team for their performance.
There's obviously a bit of emotion upstairs after all the hard work that's been put in. The guys have. I'm extremely proud of how they've gone in this tournament, and we've fared really well, and I think we've shown what we're capable of. Obviously, there's a couple of moments within the last two games that have really hurt us. A couple of decisions, and there was another one today which unfortunately didn't go our way, and it's obviously proving very costly right now.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Again, the major developments of this day: Antigua and Barbuda hours away from a new government after a peaceful election day. And in sport, West Indies booked their spot in next year's ICC Cricket World Cup after a 5-run victory against Scotland under Duckworth Lewis. Now that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to KanaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and do have yourselves a good night.